The hidden power of Saint Joseph's obedience in defeating demonic attacks. Among all the saints honored in the Catholic faith, few possess the quiet yet powerful strength of Saint Joseph. He never preached a sermon in Scripture. Not a single spoken word of his is recorded in the Bible. Yet his silence thundered with obedience, and his obedience became a weapon against the powers of darkness. In a world that glorifies pride, rebellion, and self-will, Saint Joseph stands as a holy contradiction. He teaches us that true spiritual authority is born not from loudness but from surrender to God. The hidden power of Saint Joseph lies precisely in this: he obeyed God immediately, completely, and without compromise. Because of this, demons fear him. The Gospel of Matthew reveals several moments when Joseph received divine instructions through dreams. Each time, he obeyed instantly. When the angel told him not to fear taking Mary as his wife, Joseph obeyed without hesitation. When warned to flee to Egypt because King Herod sought to kill the Christ child, Joseph rose during the night and protected Jesus and Mary. Later, when instructed to return to Israel, he obeyed again. These actions may appear simple, but spiritually they were acts of warfare. Satan's kingdom is built on rebellion. The devil himself fell because he refused to obey God. Every demonic influence thrives on pride, disobedience, confusion, and resistance to divine authority. Saint Joseph crushed these forces not with dramatic speeches, but with humble submission to God's will. This is why his example is so powerful for Catholics today. Many believers pray against demonic attacks but continue living in partial obedience. They ask God for protection while ignoring his commandments, yet spiritual victory cannot fully flourish where rebellion remains. Saint Joseph teaches that obedience closes doors to darkness. When a soul chooses God's will over personal desire, the enemy loses ground. Consider Joseph's role as protector of the Holy Family, God the Father, entrusted his greatest earthly treasures, Jesus and Mary, to Joseph's care. Heaven would not have given such responsibility to a spiritually weak man. Joseph's purity, humility, and obedience made him a terror to demons. Catholic tradition often describes Saint Joseph as the guardian of the Redeemer. This title is deeply significant. He guarded Christ not only physically, but spiritually. While Mary carried Jesus in her womb, Joseph guarded the atmosphere around them. He provided safety, leadership, and righteous authority within the home. The demonic realm hates holy fatherhood because it reflects the protective authority of God himself. Modern society attacks fatherhood relentlessly through confusion, passivity, addiction, lust, and selfishness. The devil understands that when fathers spiritually collapse, families become vulnerable. Saint Joseph stands as the heavenly answer to this crisis. He was courageous without arrogance, strong without cruelty, silent without weakness. One of the hidden mysteries of Joseph's obedience is that it required trust even when he did not fully understand God's plan. Imagine the confusion he must have experienced upon learning that Mary was pregnant before they lived together. Human reasoning alone could never explain such a mystery. Yet when God revealed the truth, Joseph surrendered his own understanding. This is a profound lesson in spiritual warfare. Demons often attack the mind through fear, suspicion, anxiety, and confusion. They tempt people to rely entirely on emotions or human logic instead of trusting God. Saint Joseph defeated these attacks through faith-filled obedience. He chose God's voice over his fears. Many Catholics today suffer spiritual oppression because fear governs their decisions more than faith. They delay obedience. They compromise with sin. They ignore God's promptings. But Joseph reminds us that immediate obedience carries supernatural protection. When Joseph fled into Egypt with Mary and Jesus, he entered a foreign land filled with pagan influences and uncertainty. Yet the presence of Jesus within his care transformed that journey into a triumph over darkness. In many ways, Joseph became the earthly shadow of the Old Testament patriarch Joseph, who also protected God's people during a time of crisis. The hidden strength of Saint Joseph also appears in his work ethic. He was a carpenter, a laborer who served God through ordinary duties. The devil often tempts people to believe holiness belongs only to priests, monks, or visionaries. Joseph destroys this lie. He sanctified daily work, family life, and responsibility. There is spiritual power in faithful duty. Every nail Joseph hammered, every journey he made, every sacrifice he accepted became an offering to God. Demons despise disciplined faithfulness because it reflects divine order. They prefer chaos, laziness, and spiritual inconsistency. Joseph's steady obedience built a home where Jesus could grow in wisdom and stature. Another reason demons fear Saint Joseph is his purity. Purity is not merely about avoiding sin. It is total devotion to God. Joseph's chaste love for Mary reflected heavenly love rather than selfish desire. In a culture consumed by lust and impurity, Saint Joseph shines like a spiritual sword. The devil aggressively attacks purity because pure souls see God more clearly and resist temptation more strongly. Joseph's purity protected the Virgin Mary and honored God's plan. His self-control revealed enormous spiritual authority throughout Catholic history. Countless saints have testified to Saint Joseph's intercession against evil. Saint Teresa of Avila famously declared that she never asked Saint Joseph for anything without receiving help. Many exorcists also speak of the fear demons display when confronted with Joseph's authority and name. Why? Because Joseph represents everything Satan rejected: humility, obedience, chastity, fatherhood, diligence, and trust in God. The world often overlooks Saint Joseph because heaven's greatest works are frequently hidden. Yet hidden things can possess enormous power. A tree's roots are invisible, but they hold a tree upright during storms. Joseph's hidden obedience became the foundation upon which the Holy Family stood secure. Catholics facing spiritual attacks today should learn from Saint Joseph. Demonic oppression is not overcome merely through emotional prayers or dramatic gestures. Victory comes through a life aligned with God's will. Frequent confession, obedience to church teaching, purity, humility, disciplined prayer, and trust in God form a spiritual fortress against evil. Saint Joseph demonstrates this perfectly. When darkness surrounds your life, look to the silent guardian of Nazareth. Ask him to teach you immediate obedience. Ask him to protect your home and family. Ask him to strengthen fathers, guide workers, defend purity, and destroy fear. Most importantly, ask him to help you say yes to God even when the path is unclear. The hidden power of Saint Joseph was never worldly power. It was the power of a man fully surrendered to God. And that kind of obedience still shakes hell today. Thank you for watching the video. Please like and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. Goodbye.